There's one specific amazing EQ setting that you can use that instantly tightens up your track, giving it more fullness and a sense of togetherness and even a little bit of punch. The only way I learned about this trick was by a professional mastering engineer from Point Blank Music School, where I was blessed enough to be a student, and he shared this trick, this simple trick, which actually sounds counterproductive because we cut the tops to make the low end tighter. So if you want to learn more about this little trick, how you can tighten up your tracks in just a few minutes with a few clicks and save it as a template so you have it ready on every track to tighten it up very quickly, this video I think is perfectly for you. Now before we start, I quickly want to mention my soft but snappy Rominimal Ableton Live kick template. It's basically a template that I created based on Ableton Live's drum synth, Max for Live device. It's built in already inside Ableton Live, but it's kind of a preset that you can use and is highly adjustable with some layers and stuff. So if you found that your kick on some level doesn't fit into your track anymore, because you added some new elements to your track, a bass line maybe, some textures, maybe even hi-hats sometimes, you know, and you found you need to adjust your kick or whatever, you can do that very quickly with this simple template. If you want that, it's completely for free. Just click the link below and then you get it shipped to your inbox. And yeah, now let's jump over to this week's video, to the session, and hopefully you like it. And hopefully it will help you to tighten up and get a more fuller track with just a few clicks and tricks. And also I had some bonuses that you can use. So yeah, now let's jump over. Okay, so about this EQ cut, I run this every time on my master channel and it's pretty simple, but I would say it's very effective. Okay, so let's have a listen without it first, and then let's get rid of that basically. So we go from scratch and I can show you the effect on it, right? So that's the track. So the bass is quite prominent on this specific track, right? Maybe even a little bit too much, right? A little bit too loud. But let's see what we can do with this simple EQ cut. And in order of EQing, I like to think about EQ in a subtractive way. So basically, we take things out, and in an additive way, right? So the subtractive EQing, aka we taking things out, is more of a corrective thing to get rid of nasty frequencies, of unwanted frequencies. And the additive EQ part is where we add, where we level, or where we enhance the nice frequencies, right? So for this part here, this EQ cuts here, I like to think about the corrective EQing, right? Okay, so again, step number one, we insert EQ8, right? And then I switch to MS. If you don't know about MS, basically M stands for middle channel and side, S stands for side channel, right? So middle channel, basically now we only EQing the mid channel, right? Not the sides. Only the mid channel, everything that comes out from the middle. Let's work first on the mid channel. And what I like to do is make use of very steep cuts. And here's the catch. If we make a steep cut on the tops, the low end actually gets tighter. Now, it sounds really counterproductive, but let's just have a listen. Now I put in. So a little bit too high right now, but let's have a listen. Listen to the low end. Again. It's not a really crazy difference, but I have the feeling it already tightens it up a little bit. So this is the first EQ cut on the top mid channel that we are going to use, right? I like to go around 16K, but it doesn't really matter. Just listen and dial until the low end tightens up a little bit. Second EQ cut is around 30 and also very steep, right? Now let's have a listen again. Bypass both. Can you hear that? Some kind of losing here, but if you put it in, again. I have the feeling it's a little bit tighter, but we can also do it just on the stereo, just this cut on the stereo file. If you want to go really minimalistic, I would recommend just those two cuts on every master channel, right? On every track that you produce. Let's play again. Loosen. Loosen. Listen to the kick and the bass. Bass is there right now. If I take it out, the bass is somehow strangely, I don't know, a little bit hidden. Right, and here it's really, yeah, tighter, warmer. And the catch is we didn't even added anything. Basically we just cut, right, on the right things. I hear the effect here on this section of the track better than where we listened before the break, but yeah, so that's the stereo, right? Now let's go back to middle channel and this section of the track. Yeah, I have the feeling it's the same effect, tightens up a little bit. Now let's go to the side channel. And what I like to do here is I like to cut up the sides up between 100 and 150 hertz. Yeah, just have a listen and dial in as much as you like to your taste, where you feel like the track comes a little bit better together, a little bit more punch. And also I do the same on the top and on the side channel, right? So this is just the sides. Right? Let's go back to this section. Now let's EQ a little bit more. This is the basic cuts, right? On the top, on the lows, mid and side. Relatively steep. On the tops I like to go, yeah, 16, sometimes even less, right? And on the bottom 28 up to 32, whatever feels right. And on the sides, yeah, between 100 150. This is taste thing, right? I found that oftentimes the low end tightens a little bit up if I do that just on the sides, cutting the sides a little bit, or the low end at this on the sides, right? But again, it's a taste thing. Yeah, and now let's go back to mid channel. I did here, oftentimes I've found between 150 up to 250. If we take out a little bit around there, we get the cleaner result, because oftentimes in there is the snare maybe playing the clap, the bass line, right, is playing there, and oftentimes that can sound a little bit boxy, as you can just hear if I boost it, right, like cardboard. But if you take it out, by the way, little tip here, oversampling. There's a, you can't see that, but if you right click and then you have an oversampling option on the EQ. I turn this on. Yeah, now let's see if we can do some additive EQing. Maybe just boost a little bit. Like this. Just mid-channel again. Could be an option, but I don't opt for that. But on the sides, that could work. Like this. That probably will give us a little bit of a wider impression. Again, this is just a side channel, right? Without. Yeah, and that's it already. Little tip here, a little bonus tip. I like to use those channel EQs for additive stuff. So instead of boosting here the tops, I would consider doing it here, right? Because this is, I guess, more like a vintage style EQ here. Now we can really hear the benefit of this EQ cards here. A little bit unbalanced, loosen. Right? Yeah, and that's basically the only EQing I did on this specific track. I was not really using a lot of EQing. This is straight out from the production process. If we would go more crazy and go through all the different individual tracks, I think we can get quite a good result. But if you want to go minimalistic and want to tighten up the track very quickly, yeah, you just go and maybe try out those EQ cards, right? And maybe save it as a preset, yeah, or save as default preset. That's a little hack here. Then whenever you load up EQ, then you have already the EQ cuts there, right? You can adjust them under User Library, Defaults, EQ8, right? Now if I delete that and insert an EQ8, it should be the default setting from Ableton. Yes, exactly. So whenever you save that as default preset, the setting that you did, and then you want to bring it back to Ableton setting, you simply go to use library and then presets, audio effects, the dedicated effect that you just edited, and just delete this one, and then you're ready to go. We can go crazy now and balancing all the tracks, different tracks here, because I think we can do some work here about the balancing and stuff, compression, mixing in general, but for now, if you want to go minimalistic, try this EQ out here, and then you should be able to tighten up your track, giving it a little bit more punch like you heard on the low end. And yeah, and then go with additive EQing and maybe saturation, distortion, whatever it is out there, right? Compression, like I did here a little bit. All the small changes like this EQ, then the additive EQ and the compressor add up over time, right? Add up together, right? So small changes change in the big scope. Now to sum this up very quickly, number one, switch your EQ to mid-side setting, then use on the mid channel, steep cut on the top around 16K, steep cut on the lows around 30 Hz, just some guidelines, and then just listen and dial on some level, especially on the lows, it will click, and also on the tops you will hear it click somehow. Maybe even close your eyes and just dial until you can feel how the sound changed. Then on the sides, the same thing. On the top, relatively steep cut to make it tighter, and on the sides I like to cut the lows a little bit so it gets a little bit tighter down there. It's not a necessity, but I like to do that very often, and I did so on other people's tracks as well, and they liked it. And yeah, as a bonus you can add some additive EQing, like the the channel EQ from Ableton Live, to boost some certain frequencies, the low end, or also just the sides to make the impression that the track sounds a little bit wider, and spice it up with compression if you like, or a limiter. And that already could serve as a club master, right? To test your tracks inside the club. Why not? Save it as a template if you like, and then you have ready, and save it as a chain, as an effect chain, and you always have it ready to go. Maybe make some macros out of it, and then you have it ready to go, right? So yeah, I hope you like this. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know what I can share what you need help with in the future, for future videos. Thanks again, and hope to see you next week. Cheers, bye bye.